5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Two Guys Talking Sports. We got one team that finally looked like they were supposed to all year, and we got one team that continues looking like trash.
I wouldn't say trash.
Trash.
But we won.
Yeah. Before we jump into the games, we do want to address a little bit of controversy that we got into last week.
Let me interrupt you. Can you just please behave this week?
Yeah.
Behave.
So we called Chris Phillips out last week for his. I called Chris Phillips out.
You did.
You're part of the show. You shared it a lot, so you were pumping it out there.
No, I'm with you.
Anyway, we called Chris Phillips out last week, or I called him out about being the worst Gamecock fan of all time. I think he handled it well. It was respect given to both sides after the initial video. But I do want to apologize to him because he's not the worst Gamecock fan of all time. The South Carolina student section, they are the worst Gamecock fans of all time. I think Zeb's got the picture of them, yeah.
You're trying to alienate the whole fan base.
This is before the fourth quarter of a tie ball game.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're 2-6, how the season's going, whatever. Like, first of all, you get these tickets for free. Mm-hmm. You come in there basically just to punch your ticket so you can keep getting the tickets, and then you just walk out.
Another thing is part of the upper deck.
Yeah.
That student section as well.
Exactly.
And they took those tickets away. And
here's the other thing is...
Did your brother stay the whole time?
He stayed the whole time. Well, he didn't stay till the final second.
Oh, no.
But he left after
the
game was in hand, after the Stone Blanton
one of the problems.
Well...
He's one of the problems.
He wasn't one of the ones at the fourth quarter.
That's what happens
but
when
here's
you
the
have
other
that
thing is
logo
like,
on your chest.
You know, years ago, it was the students wanted to get back out to party or whatever else.
Yeah.
Continue drinking from tailgating. You can have alcohol in the stadium now. I mean, you can go and buy it. So that's not really...
Students ain't got no money.
They didn't have to pay to get in there like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the worst Gamecock fans of all time, it would have to be the students. It's not Chris Phillips anymore.
Well, I will comment on the whole situation last week. We all have different ways of how we want to be a fan. Right. Some like to view the season as glass half empty. I choose to be a glass half full type fan within certain
Mine's half
degrees.
Empty or half full depending on the day.
And
today it's half empty.
I mean, people were like picking on our flannels. Like, come on, like come after me, but like don't come after the flannels. Like it's chilly.
Right.
It's chilly when we record. Like don't knock the flannels. But yeah, you know, I've this has been a couple years, and I think this is like right when Chris started his channel. Or he may have had it for a little bit, but he was still new, and I've always held like the same beliefs towards him, where like I respect him. You know, I
sometimes disagree.
I think he's just a little bit more negative, and you know, my thing is like just stand behind what you say. You know, not talking about what led you to call him out last week, but there's just certain things that happen, or certain things that are tweeted that sometimes gets deleted. But no, yeah, I have no issue with them on a personal level or a professional level.
Like I told you and some other people, I have more respect for him now after his response to our video than I probably did before.
He still didn't find any joy.
No, well, there was. I will agree with him this week. There was nothing to find joy about. You got to win, and we'll talk about that in a later segment with the Gamecocks. But there wasn't much to find joy about. I have to agree with him on that. But before we talk about finding some joy with the Gamecocks, let's talk about Clemson, because they did look like they were supposed to all year. It's something I
wouldn't go that far.
Well, they looked. I mean, it was a top 15 team. Let's put it that way. So they played at that level.
I think it was more Notre Dame just crapped the bed. And
that's a little bit of it, yeah. But hats off to Clemson though, because they came in without their starting running back. They came in
their top overall playmakers.
Right. They came in 4-4. Season's not going how you got fans calling out the coaches. You know, so it's not only a Gamecock problem here this season. You got Clemson fans.
I think Tyler from Spartanburg was a plan. I think that was planned.
You still got people that are out on Dabo right now, even with the win. But hats off to them. 31-23 victory over Notre Dame. I didn't see that, coming. I thought Notre Dame was, the better team for sure. Obviously playing in Death Valley is always tough, but I still thought Notre Dame was going to come out with this victory. But Clemson's offense still isn't great.
There's a reason
Mafah had a great game.
There's a reason why the line was so tight coming into yesterday. Notre Dame's been kind of playing with house money with their offense. They outside their first couple of games, their offense has just kind of sputtered, and Clemson still has an elite defense.
Right.
Look at yesterday. Notre Dame got in the red zone several times, at least 3 times, and instead of scoring, they had to settle for field goals.
Yeah.
You had a costly pick 6.
3 turnovers.
And Clemson capitalized off the turnovers. Pick 6. And that's what you have to do. Sometimes when your offense just, or even if you're just not a good team, I kind of will relate to this with the Gamecocks, but you got to find different ways to win. And offense outside of Phil Mafah still wasn't that great.
Right.
But, hats off to Dabo. He's the winningest coach in Clemson history now.
That's surprising.
W.
It's not surprising. It just surprised me that it took him this many years to get there. It just feels like he's been there so long.
Yeah.
And they've put up so many 10-plus win seasons, national championships, and everything else. It just seems like he would have eclipsed that number before now.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was, I guess, who was it? Tommy Bowden was the all-time?
I don't think so.
Maybe it was somebody from that 81 team that they held on to for years and years and years. Yeah, people that weren't even born in 81 that wanted to boast about an 81 championship.
Hold on.
But while you're looking that up, I think Will Shipley's been holding Mafah back. Because Mafah, we thought that he was just the power back, just to come in and get the tough yards, but he was breaking off some explosive runs yesterday and some big time runs, and he definitely has some speed. I mean, he was running past guy. I mean, he looked like he could easily be the starting running back for Clemson.
Dabo had his 166th win, and he took the place of Frank Howard.
Okay,
yeah,
legendary.
It's a 54-year-old.
Long time record.
Yeah, stood for 54 years. Good gosh. Yeah.
But back to Mafah. I mean, 36 rushing attempts, 186 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He definitely, when he was finally given the opportunity to be the guy, he took the bull by the horns and he showed that he could be the guy. I'm not sure if I'm assuming he still has some eligibility left moving forward if he wanted to come back and be that guy, because I'm pretty sure Will Shipley's gone after this year.
I don't know, man. I think this obviously gets an NFL talk. I just think with NIL era and
for running backs,
being a running back position, there's just not a
teams don't want to pay running backs anymore in the NFL. It's just one of those positions. Yeah, it's just one of those positions that kind of is dying out with the big contracts. And like you said, NIL, he could probably make the most money he can make right now before you go and make only what they're going to give you.
Yeah, and I think another thing is Clemson's offensive line played really well yesterday. Yeah. Blocked really well. And, I mean, credit to them because Notre Dame is a dang good defensive football team.
Right.
This may just be a philosophical thing, but I think when you have that one back, that is your it back, and you're not constantly rotating 2 different types of running backs, it kind of helps. And obviously it helped yesterday because, like I said, I think going into yesterday, Notre Dame's defense was allowing over 121 yards per game. I mean, Mafah broke that by himself.
Yeah. I mean, Mafah just had an amazing game because, like you said, outside of him, Klubnik was 13 for 26, 109 yards. I mean, that's really nothing. I mean, he didn't contribute a whole lot as far as yardage. I mean, but, at the end of the day, they get a win. It was a huge victory for them.
Yep.
They beat a top 15 team. Mm-hmm. They obviously have pretty much solidified themselves now to go to a bowl game this year.
Not necessarily,
but I mean, they got Georgia Tech this week. They should win that one.
Georgia Tech's 5-4 too. Georgia Tech's not going to be a slouch.
They're not going to be a slouch, but Clemson definitely. But then again, Clemson didn't show me anything to say, hey, they're just a dominant team again. They haven't done on a
consistent basis where you can say that about them. And, it's obviously a step in the right direction, but it's not like we learned anything new about Clemson yesterday. Yeah. If anything, you learned more about Notre Dame than Clemson.
Yeah, I agree. But you still had Dabo at the game. Dabo of old comes back. They love to get
he's back.
They rush the field again.
Yeah.
And they love to crowd around them. And during the interview, and he had to have his little hot button slogan slash quote that he makes.
Had to make it about himself like he normally does.
Exactly. He makes the quote saying something about it. Stock's going up. If you could buy stock in Clemson, you better buy all you can right now. Why? You're 5-4.
That's why I'm telling you,
companies have good days all the time. Yeah. That doesn't make them a good company. I'm telling you,
Tyler from Spartanburg was a plant.
Yeah.
He's a plant. There's no, like, I get every fan base has a fan or multiple fans like Tyler from Spartanburg, but I don't know. Yeah,
I don't think Dabo understands the stock market. Just because you have one good day doesn't mean throw all my money at it because you have one good day. Because this year you've had consistently bad days.
Yeah.
So like you said, there was nothing to say. Oh, they're back.
No.
It wasn't like Klubnik came out and threw for 400 yards. No. 90% completion, 4 touchdowns, and Mafah did what he did.
Yep.
Klubnik probably looked worse than he's looked all year. I mean, 109 yards. That's basically no contribution to your team.
Nope.
50% passing, no contribution to your team. Without Mafah, I mean, and the defense, like you said, the defense has kept them in the games that they've won this year. It's because the defense has allowed the offense to sputter and not do anything all year.
Yep.
And then the games they won,
Like I said, I think you learn more about how not overrated Notre Dame was, but they're not as good as people make them out to be.
Right.
They're ranked because their name. They had a big win this season, beat actually dominated USC, but I mean, lost to Notre Dame or Ohio State, didn't really score. Their offense just hasn't been good.
Yeah.
And Clemson took advantage of that yesterday. Had like I said, the crucial pick 6 by Trotter. But like I said, just the offenses was no different than, like I said, we said earlier, there's nothing you learn different about Clemson's offense or Clemson's football team in general than what you didn't already know.
Yeah, I think it's the same team that they put out there all year. They just got Notre Dame on being Notre Dame.
Yep.
Ranked because they're Notre Dame.
Sam Hartman will finish his collegiate career 0-5 against Clemson. Lost every game to him against when he was at Wake Forest. And
it might be.
I don't know about.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as old Clemson being back, I don't think so. I think that they're what they are this year.
Yeah.
Their offense didn't do anything to say that they're back. I mean, Mafah had a good game, but offense as a whole. Yeah. I mean, Shipley's had good games all year too, but Klubnik's just not that guy.
Yeah.
We gave him the excuse at the beginning of the year, first starts, basically he's a rookie, fresh, whatever. I mean, we're, 9 games into this now. He just ain't
2
him.
more games.
He just ain't him.
He's not him
and
yet.
he could improve over the offseason going into next year, but he's just not going to be the guy that Clemson has expected. But then again, they should appreciate it. You can't have any expectations towards Clemson anymore. You just have to appreciate what Dabo did 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So
he's God up there.
Doesn't matter what he does now. Appreciate what he did in the past.
He's God.
But I think you got some fans that are probably back on him. A lot of guys that I talked to, they were like, "Oh, Clemson's back. Clemson's back. Clemson's not back. They're 5-4. They're still scraping away to try and get to a bowl game that they used to crap on us about every year. Oh, y'all are just playing in the Gator Bowl or this or that. Well, guess what? That's where you're playing this year, Clemson.
They might go to the Belt Bowl in Charlotte.
Guess what? Dabo can get some mayo dumped on his head if he wins.
They tried to,
but you trash South Carolina every year about, oh, y'all are excited about going to this bowl, that bowl. You're going there this year.
Yeah. I mean, they try to give it away. I mean,
expect that and appreciate that.
Phil Mafah did have a fumble within the final 2 minutes of the game.
And that's kind of been Shipley's problem, I guess, is what a lot, his fumbles and crucial.
It's the whole football. Yeah. It's just crucial penalties in crucial times that kill them.
Yeah. The old Clemson is not back. Mafah had a great game. And I think that's what a lot of people wanted to see is like, all right, if you put him in this situation, what can he do? Obviously, they got the win. That's a bright spot because it was a big win for them, especially with all the adversity they've had to face this year as a program. Dabo, personally, I know that he's probably back on himself right now. He's probably getting ready to throw on some gloves and make a TikTok or something.
The obnoxious Dabo is probably back, and that's the worst. Yeah, that's the worst.
But again, like you said, they got Georgia Tech, which is no slouch, and they still got North Carolina coming up, and they're playing pretty well this year. So that's no slouch either.
Georgia Tech beat North Carolina. Georgia Tech beat Miami.
Yeah.
I saw this. We'll talk about this in the pick preview segment. But I saw a little stat about Georgia Tech.
We'll talk about them at the end. South Carolina, and this, we talked about it, finding joy, and we tried to be positive last week, and you'll still try to be positive, I'm sure. But like I said, my glass can either be half full or half empty, depending on what's going on. Okay. Last week, I tried to be half full. I tried to ride with the guys. It's been a tough year, but yeah, let's just look for something positive. And we heard about, our guys practice like it was a Super Bowl this week. Well, my God, that's what you come out in the product that you show on Saturday. You had this great week of practice, and it's 28-28 going into the fourth quarter against a team in their first year as an FBS school.
I think Beamer should trademark, I had a great week of practice.
Yeah, nobody cares about practice anymore.
They love saying it.
Yeah, Allen Iverson would tell them, we talking about practice. You keep talking about this great week of practice, but it doesn't show on the field.
Okay.
It doesn't every single week. And again, it's the defense. The offense wasn't perfect yesterday. It's still an offensive line issue. Rattler and Xavier Leggett, they do what they've done all year. Mario Anderson tried to get something going on the ground. Offensive line just, and we seemed like we were supposed to be healthier again on offensive line. We got 2 guys back.
Yep.
Offensively, it wasn't the best. Just because of the opponent you were facing, but God, the defense. I would have fired Clayton White at halftime of that game.
I'm just going to let you go.
I mean,
you talk and then I'll talk.
At some point, I think that, first of all, the fan base is who got Beamer hired. They drove that, Shane train when we were doing the coaching show or coaching search. It was former players and the fan base that really got behind him. Obviously, I don't think it's a fan base that helped Tanner and them make the right, or to make the decision. But, it played a factor, I'm sure. And he's losing the fan base right now because he won't make the tough decisions and just let him go. Let the problem go. Go ahead.
You done? Okay. All right. No, I'm in agreement with you. I was texting a buddy of mine. I think Clayton White balled himself another week. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat. The defense isn't good, but it's not like we were going up against some podunk team that was averaging 10 points a game coming into yesterday. Say what you want, Jack. We are a far more superior team in every facet of the game. We've got bigger players, but at the end of the day, I mean, their offense was good. They're up tempo just like Tennessee. The pass game wasn't that big of a factor, but it was the rushing attack for Jacksonville State that really killed us. But listen, man, I'm the more glass half full. Give credit. They made stops when they had to.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day,
it was bad.
At the end of the day, we got the win.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to have the win. You don't have to be
happy about it, but we won. Like Shane Beamer said in his post-game press conference, these players practice and do anything football-related for 7/8 of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
And they get 12 tries to win.
Yeah.
It's not been pretty. There's no sunshines and rainbows. They celebrated the win, which they should.
Right.
Fans are pissed off about it, which we honestly,
I don't mind the celebrating.
We could have won 52-0 and people would still. I don't want to cuss.
I don't know, 52-0, dude. I think the fans would be like, okay, this gives us hope moving forward. But I'm not hopeful moving forward for this season.
That's okay. That's okay. But at the end of the day, we got the win.
At the end of the day, we got the win. And I don't mind them celebrating. I don't mind Beamer saying, hey, what he said, I agree with everything. Like, it's tough to win. And, where they're at is you're going to celebrate any win that you can get. That's fine. But it was almost like he was kind of pulled a Dabo where he wanted to then attack the fan base because here's the thing, same thing with Dabo is like, you make what you make, whatever. But when you make that much money, and a lot of it is fans putting in their hard-earned money to support the teams, and then this is the product that you get, fans have a right to be upset. They have a right to call you out.
Yeah.
For you to come in and then attack them again, it's just, I think that's what fans are getting. The worst is that these press conferences are the worst is because at halftime he's pissed off about defense. We keep seeing these halftime, and then nothing changes. And then you talk about it's on us coaches, nothing changes. And then you attack the fan base, and then we hear about great practices. It's the same.
I saw
circle, walk, rinse, repeat. Let's go.
But sometimes it's not always on the coaching though. At the end of the day, maybe it's the players.
Just it could be.
Look at when you take baseball for example. When a MLB team fires their say they stink, can't win, they can't hit, they fire the hitting coach. Okay, maybe it's just the players. Maybe the players just aren't good.
It could be.
And I'm not saying that's the case for us, but sometimes you can spend all week teaching these things, but at the end of the day, when these players get on the field, it's on them to put out and play.
I agree.
And I honestly, dude, I love when coaches clap back at fans because guess what? They may they may spend their money, but guess what? You're not above getting called out.
They're not. But the thing is, they're calling them out because they're getting called out.
But I love a coach sticking up for his team.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Do you want them just to sit there and say, "Yeah, we suck. These players, they suck.
No, I don't want
these coaches, they suck."
Yes, yes. I want him to say Clayton White sucks, and he's got to fire him. Look, dude. Here's the thing: in the real world,
be Debbie Downers.
I'm not, but in the real world. If you had a job and you weren't doing your job, consistently not doing your job, here's the thing. It's not even this year because you got this stat that I didn't even know until the broadcast. And it was masked because of Satterfield being terrible last year that we never got rid of him. South Carolina has given up 20 or more points in 16 straight games. That leads the nation in points given up.
And like I said on previous episodes, he's got important decisions to make in the offseason.
But
you can say what you want. He needs to fire him here or there. Some coaches just aren't going to be like
He's not. Well, I know that, but the thing is, I can still call him out for it.
You can, but let's just say he did fire Clayton White, and the defense still looked like that. People still wouldn't be happy.
The thing is it's not going to get worse. So let's try and do something to change it up.
Yeah, it's just. I feel like it's a lost cause. You know what you're getting with the defense.
Here's what made it worse for me. Truly, everything. I agree with everything you're saying, except for the fact that it was. And Jacksonville State, they're a good team for where they are. But like you said, in every single position, we should have been bigger, faster, stronger, and better than them. We should have been, and probably on paper we are. So to go out there and put out that product.
I mean, they still only gave up. I know this sucked. This is bad to say, but they only gave up 28 points.
That's a lot. Consistently giving up 20. Here's the thing, too, is in those 16 games, you're talking about the Jacksonville States. No slack against Furman. They're a good football team as well. But you have those teams that you're giving these points up to. And luckily for Clayton White is he's been masked by the poor offense last year. Well, now you got an offense that's doing something, and you consistently. The problem is it's consistent. It's just the same and nothing. Change out if you think it's the players, play the freshmen at this point. If you're just scraping for a bowl and there's a slim chance now that you make that bowl game. Go ahead and start getting these younger guys some experience in. If these players that you're running out there aren't working and it's the same product, let's try something different. Try something different. Switch up the scheme. If you run a 4-3, let's run a 3-4. Let's do something different. Let's just try something instead of saying this is what we're going to do, and then we're going to be mad about it at halftime, and then we're going to say, well, we got to be better as coaches. It's just everything is the same this year. It's the same press conferences. It's the same thing on the field. It's just the same. That's what's really pissing people off.
I think another thing is we just don't have much depth to work with.
No, we definitely don't have the depth.
Maybe they can switch up schemes, but what if they don't have the players to run the schemes? Now, I'm not saying in terms of play abilities.
Right.
Maybe you don't have the numbers to do it.
Yeah, we definitely don't have the depth.
We're very...
And we're injured.
I don't think we're as injured on the defensive side of the ball,
definitely
on the
not.
offensive side of the ball. But again, at the same time, you need to have the players in order to change up something. And again, maybe it's just not. They're not able to do it. Like people were saying, on the offensive side of the ball, we need to get Nick Harbor more involved. Yeah. And there's a pass Rattler did have some underthrown balls yesterday. But the first play of the second half when he threw that ball, it was underthrown to Nick. But again, that's a freshman.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't mad about that one. I wasn't mad about the play call.
Those types of things are going to happen, and they're not just going to come out and be these world makers, like they're still trying at the end of the day to win. And I trust Shane to make the right decisions. Now, you cannot agree with his defensive coordinator, and I think he will address it at the end of the year.
But the thing is, he has to.
If he doesn't, then he's like we said under Muschamp.
He will lose everybody.
I don't think he'll lose everybody, but I'm
not talking about recruits. I'm talking about fan base.
I'm talking about everything. But if you're going to stick with Clayton White, you're putting your career on him.
It's kind of the same thing with when Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys said, you know what? I'm going to take the play calling this year, and if it comes down to our offense stinking, and it comes down to play calling, it's going to be on me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lose my job because somebody else couldn't perform and do their job. So, again, if he does want to hang his hat on Clayton White, you better make damn sure that y'all come out and play solid defense next year, because if you don't,
honestly,
he's gonna let him go.
He needs to move on. I'm not
sure if Clayton White is his contract up. Is it kind of one of those deals where he can do like he did with Satterfield, where it was kind of a mutual parting, and they just didn't renew him?
Clayton.
The bad thing is we keep hearing that it's his friends. That's the bad thing. Is like you hired your friends, and you kind of set yourself up to be in this situation where you hired your friend, and if they aren't doing well, then you got to go through that awkward firing of your friend.
He received a 1-year contract extension in February of 2022. So he's under contract until December 31 of 2024.
So he's got to fire him.
Yeah.
Yep.
He would have to fire him.
He's got to fire him.
Yep.
He has to.
But here's the thing, man. Like,
the only way that I would say, ooh, maybe give him another year.
I don't
is
know.
if they go out and play solid in the next 3 games. If they give up 10 points or less in the next 3 games, then maybe
they might.
Like 5% chance I'll be okay with it.
My thing
but really,
is,
there's nothing he can do.
You've got enough sample size to know
he can't do it.
What type of court, just like with Satterfield.
Yeah, can't do it.
We didn't need 2 full seasons to understand how the offense was going to look under him. You know what our defense is going to be. Now, we have more weapons coming.
For sure.
But
he can't do anything with the weapons we got, though.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, and we've said this before, it starts with both lines on each side of the ball.
Yeah.
If you can't generate pressure, that hurts your secondary. We've had we had 4 turnovers or forced 4 turnovers yesterday. That was our first turnover since the Tennessee game. Didn't have any of the month of October.
Yeah, that's been one thing that kind of helped Clayton White last year was we had a ton of turnovers last year.
But you need that.
Not a lot this year.
But you need that when teams are not world beaters.
Right.
It's turnovers help because it puts you our offense in better field position.
Yep.
Thank God for Stone Planton because that.
Here's the thing, dude.
I truly thought that was going to be a touchdown.
Watching that play,
I didn't even see him.
He kind of just fell into that interception. To be honest, it wasn't like he made the perfect read. I mean, I think he read it well, but it wasn't like he made the perfect read and just snagged the ball. It was almost like he stumbled into it and caught it. But that should have been a touchdown. Well, if the quarterback makes the right read there.
Well, it started with our pass rush because Dabo got to him.
He did.
And if he just, instead of like a line drive, he just
lofted it over. That's a touchdown.
Yeah, because Stone read it and he cut it off. But, dude, like I said, you got to give credit. You need to give credit where you can. They found a way to win. It was not pretty. I mean, just think Beamer's
They're 1-0 in November.
Just think of Beamer's first year when we had to have a game-winning drive against Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
It was around this time 2 years ago.
Probably the same thing that's coming up with.
And Xavier Leggett had the game-winning touchdown. And it just we know what type of football team.
I don't put it past them to – I know that we can play offense.
Yep.
I know that we got the offense. I don't think that Juice Wells is coming back this year. But if somehow he does say, hey, I'm coming back for the last 3 games, last 2 games, whatever, that only helps the offense. We also didn't have Trey Knox yesterday.
Which I think was a good – I'd never want somebody to not play because of injuries.
But it forces them to use some other people.
But I really love Joshua Simon.
Yeah, I think
he's a very athletic tight end.
Yeah, I agree. You also still have Harbor. He played a ton of snaps yesterday, just didn't get targeted a lot. He had, like I said, that 1 target. But
they kept leaving Xavier Leggett open.
Right. That's the thing. When we talked about it at the beginning of the year about getting Harbor more reps, it was Okay, they're just singling in on XL. So just if you can just get that speed out there to make them have to respect it, it's going to open him up. And it has. The past few games, it's opened him up to where they have to respect that. And if you just give him a few targets a game, even if it's...
He had 9 catches for 217 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because they're focusing. They had to put some sort of focus on Harbor, and also Omega Blake. I mean, he's not a slouch either. He's a good receiver. Amarian Brown was more heavily involved yesterday. I think they did really well scheming up plays for him to get him quick touches because he's a fast.
And Jacksonville State was without their top DB yesterday.
Yeah,
too.
But all in all, like you said, it's a win.
Find some joy,
I'm happy about the win. But they do have some stuff that they can potentially build on. Like you said, defense did cause turnovers, something they haven't done this past year.
I would be more critical if I knew we were a better football team. But when we are what we are,
right,
and we have any type of positive momentum going. Listen, and Beamer even said after his press conference, he's like, listen, we know we have a lot to work on. He's like, we as coaches know we have to be better. The players know they have to be better, but that's for tomorrow.
Yeah.
We got practice today.
When did he say that?
On Sunday. It's in his press conference last night.
Or the previous week. Or the week before that. Because he says the same thing every week.
But, I mean, what do you want him to do?
I'm just messing with you.
People get pissed off because he says one thing. Then they get pissed off because he says another thing. Yeah. And it's just like the guy cares about the football program. He cares about his players. And that's why he gets these recruits to come.
Yeah, I agree with everything that he said about celebrating wins.
But if fans clap at them, they have every right to clap back.
Yeah, for sure.
May not like it, but guess what? Shut up. if you say something, be prepared to get something said. That's Chris Phelps with the Spurs Up show.
Yeah,
I know. I know we talked about him at the beginning of the show, but they honored the 2010 through 2013 teams yesterday, and I know Ace Sanders said DJ Swearinger was pissed off because they decided to do it against Jacksonville State. Yeah. And Ace Sanders,
he said he didn't even know about it.
Yeah. And then the Spurs Up show tweeted he was not invited. I'm paraphrasing the tweet, but then Ace Sanders quote tweet is like, no, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
He's like, I know we're all pissed off, but he's like, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
That's paraphrasing what he said. But I saw other things. It had more to do with getting Spurrier there.
Right.
And I think that's the game that worked with his schedule.
Right.
But again, it's just like, I know former players.
That's being ticky. That's if you're a player, if you're one of the former players and you're pissed off about it, that's fine. You know, have whatever feelings you want to have because obviously they were honoring you. But if the fans are saying something about that, that's just a logistical thing at that point that none of the fans know and nobody's going to talk about.
Like my thing is like, why are you going to honor 4 teams in one day?
That was.
But I think that was
a Spurrier thing. Yeah, I think that was all about him.
But it's like again, it goes back to people just trying to find something negative about everything this football program does. It's absolutely exhausting looking at it, like reading it, following it. It's just like, Jesus, people. Take a drink or something. Smoke a cigarette. God, the world's not ending.
Yeah, I agree. It's you got to find the happy things. I'm not happy about a lot of it, but at the end of the day, like you said,
we won.
We won the game.
I'm not happy about it either.
You still have a chance to get to the bowl game, and all you have to do is build off of it. All you have to do is what you keep saying. Actually have. Obviously, they must be having good. Maybe they should start having bad practices so that they're not wasting all the good during the week or something like that.
I used to love when Spurrier would say he would just trash every position. He's like, our quarterbacks couldn't hit our indoor practice facility from the practice field. He did take a jab at Michigan.
Yeah, I saw that.
We had a big boy touchdown yesterday.
Yep, Tonka Hemingway. I think that they had a lot. They probably had a lot of stuff planned to do stuff like that during the game. I think that they probably had a plan to like, hey, we're going to honor some of these guys, get them in there, do these little things in the game, especially if we're up big, and it just didn't work out that way. But then again, that's also probably a package where Just get the big boy in there and let him go.
But I mean, like I said, the defense made stops, but then our offense couldn't do anything.
That's kind of how it's been.
We had 3 and outs. Like when the defense does something, the offense doesn't help.
It's been like that all year, where it's like the offense steps up when the defense is struggling to kind of keep us in it, and then when the defense finally does something and plays well for a series or two, it's like the offense comes out and gets 3 and outs, and we just can't. Neither one can, take the momentum from the other. The offense can't play off what the defense. It's like they almost have to try and constantly pick each other up the whole game instead of capitalizing when the opposite side of the ball does something well.
Yeah, one thing Beamer did bring up in his press conference that a lot of fans do bring up is that the defensive players just look lifeless out there. Like they have they just look defeated. And Beamer's like, that's something we as coaches need to be better about because it's stupid. I hate bringing this up, but he's like, in practice, they are the exact opposite.
Right.
And
here's the thing. You can find a lot of good stuff in practice when you're just doing 1-on-1s or 7-on-7 and stuff like that. But then when you got another team just running it down your throat, you're going to start hanging your head. And it doesn't help when you get to crucial times of the game. You're about to start the fourth quarter. It's 28-28. And you have no student section to try and hype you up.
I hate our student section. I really, and I know it comes with just us not being a very good football team.
But
when I was in school there, we didn't leave. I mean, but I also love Carolina football.
Right. You do have a lot of kids that are not from around here.
They're from the north.
Right. That just don't really care about the team like, we do, and a lot of the students do. So they're going to file out, but it just sucks when you get to those crucial times and they pan out to show the stadium and your student section is that. I mean, that's just and the thing is we keep taking seats away from people that want to pay, want to go, want to stay at the game, and you're taking it away to give these students free tickets.
All you got to do is take the tickets away from the students.
The system itself incentivizes
to show up.
Not showing up, just applying for the ticket.
Well, they have to scan the ticket to get the points. So they actually have to show up. Yeah, so basically go show up, maybe have a drink or two in the stadium, peace out. Yeah. That's how the system is set up.
Because like when I was in school,
they should make them scan in and then scan out, and you got to stay for a certain amount of time for it to give you credit.
So my senior year, I had to go sit in I wouldn't call it a seminar, but it was like a student-held thing where they talked about the student ticketing situation because people are, you've got kids that go to the games that, again, are just going because they get their ticket scanned or their ID scanned and they get the points.
Right.
If you get a ticket and you don't go, you are not able to get a ticket the rest of the football season.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they just hand them out.
And like one thing that I know, you have to get your ID scanned.
Yeah, you have to scan your ID. But it's also set up, and it's not just football, to be honest, because the system is set up for them they get more points for going to basketball, soccer games, stuff like this. So you basically have kids that are scanning tickets and they're not supporting the soccer team and stuff either, which isn't half bad. Or the women's soccer.
The men's good.
Yeah, but I don't care about the system. That's on them to figure out the system. That's just them as students and fans. But then
they get pissed off when like some of these sites will say, they're not one of the tops, and they're not. Like, I mean,
they're not.
Who would say that?
They're not.
Now they're good at throwing stuff on the field when stuff don't go their way.
Right.
But yeah, I can't stand that.
Yeah,
especially because it's free. Like I said,
I would understand that if it was 52-0, that we were winning 52-0.
And like I get it, like it's a 12:00 game. The team's not very good. Like I get sometimes the upper decks are going to be scarce.
Right.
Every fan base deals with that.
Right.
The student section though, they've got to be better about that.
Yeah, they got to pick that up. At the end of the day, the Gamecocks stay alive. They're 1-0 in November, and you got to win November. You win November, you go to a bowl game. So right now, they're on pace.
They got to be perfect in November.
Exactly. So,
but again, like I said, if we can rattle off 2 more games, like I still don't view this season as a complete failure.
If you beat Vanderbilt and you beat Kentucky, and you play extremely well against Clemson, but fall short, I won't be happy, but I'll be happier than I was last week.
Yeah.
So I'm still not very happy right now.
I mean, you're also a Cowboys fan.
I found
so
a little
that,
joy. You
that
just coming
makes
from a
sense.
Panthers fan who had to quit on being a Panthers fan because the owner just
He's the worst in sports.
crapped on a whole city.
He's the worst owner in sports.
All right, before we make our picks, let's talk a little bit about national stuff. Caleb Williams is crying.
I had more on here, but
I know, but that's
is
what
the
I
sheet from
only
last
know.
night.
Yeah.
I did find that quite funny with Caleb Williams crying because Robert Griffin III tweeted something about Max Duggan last year crying in a press conference. Caleb Williams quote tweeted said LOL. Now I don't know the context of what the LOL meant.
You don't
but
need much context.
People
I mean,
were roasting him.
Yeah.
And I get he's frustrated because, I mean, God, he did everything he could against Washington, but Lincoln
it's a
Riley
Lincoln Riley team.
refuses to hire a competent defensive coordinator. And
It's a Lincoln Riley team. It's what they always have been. They get all the hype and they have all the offensive firepower and just cannot win the big games. But yeah, man, I'll say, you know, he's crying and he did the whole thing with the tweet, whatever. ESPN or whoever, they did not help him out because they just stuck that camera on him and they just watched him bawl his
you could
eyes
just see it
out.
was like-
Yeah. When you start seeing the shoulder shaking, his mom is having to like cover his head up. Like, all right, man, we get it. You showed it. Just have a little respect for the dude. But they
Yeah.
were just like, hell nah, just show this. Drive this home.
but I think you're going to learn more about him as with the remainder of the season because you've got a kid that hasn't really experienced failure, and some people don't know how to respond to it. But he's doing everything he can.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a Lincoln Riley team.
Yeah. I think Georgia will be the number one team next week.
Yeah. I think that was the score isn't going to show it, but I think that was a huge win for them.
Missouri's not a slouch team.
They're not. I mean, obviously they were number 12, but you know, being without Brock Bowers, that's really what I wanted to see is how they played without him. And so that, I mean, they played.
Oscar Delp's good.
Yeah, they played really well. They
wish he'd have come to
It's
Carolina.
just another thing that Georgia does that a lot of teams, not just South Carolina, they have the depth where okay, this guy's out. Who cares? I mean, we got this guy.
Yeah.
And that's why they've won 2 national championships in a row. That's why they're on pace to try and win the 3rd one in a row is because they have the starting talent, and then their second string could probably be starting at South Carolina right now or
any school.
Any school, really.
Yeah, any school.
I mean, there's a ton of players on that team, and it was kind of like how Alabama was for years, where like, all right, they're 3 deep, and they're 3rd string running. I mean, at one point, Derrick Henry was a 3rd string running back for Alabama.
Bro, I mean, honestly, we're gearing up for an Alabama, Georgia. I mean, dude,
Alabama's crawling
Georgia's
themselves back in to be in the playoffs.
They've still got Ole Miss this week, and they still have to play Tennessee.
And then they'll have to play Alabama.
So, I mean, if they all win out,
right? Alabama making
really
a
good
case
against
to
LSU.
get themselves back in that national championship conversation.
Yeah,
they'll probably be in the top. What were they last week?
They're 7. No,
they were right. They were right on the cusp. They'll be in the conversation for the playoffs come Tuesday night for sure.
Let's see what else.
Oklahoma State beating Oklahoma. You know, Oklahoma is not looking as scary coming to the SEC as
I follow.
It's just a name.
It's that's how it is for all these big time programs. They get ranked in preseason because of their name.
What was LSU?
15.
They were ranked 15th?
14 or 15th.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, everybody thought Alabama was going to go in and win last night. But
here's another thing for the Alabama game. Go ahead.
But credit to Saban and Tommy Rees for finding, like, they benched Jalen for the South Florida game.
Yeah.
You saw their 2 other options were not any good. And, you know, this is all speculation about what happened, but I'm sure Saban went to Rees like, you need to figure it out and figure out how to get the best out of him. That's what you get paid all this money for.
This is what I wish that you could see out of Beamer is that Saban, even last night, I mean, he will go to his coaches on the sideline and he will dog them out on the sideline and just hold them to a higher level.
But you do realize if he was a newer coach, he wouldn't get away with that.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen Saban. I mean, he's been doing that since back when he was at LSU. I mean,
But
they
he
would
was-
dog them all. I mean, they
but
got videos of him and Muschamp and him and just dogging each other.
But he was a national championship coach already at that time.
Yeah.
Like, in order to do that, you have to be able to win, because guess what? If you do that and you suck, nobody wants to go work for you. People tolerate that now because he's Nick Saban. Like, these new head coaches can't. I mean,
yeah,
I hate, like, Dabo doesn't. I'm pretty sure I've never seen Dabo.
They'd probably do
absolutely
more
lay into a coach in the game. Now, in meetings and stuff, it's probably different,
right?
But like, not every.
I
coach
wish we
is,
could see it. That's all.
Not every coach is like that. But again, he wouldn't get away with that if he sucked.
You're right. That is
winning
true.
cures everything.
Right.
Like, Muschamp could get away with how he was as a head coach if he just won.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that but the thing is like a lot of people gave Muschamp a passes because he was like that as a decent, like they've known him to be that type of coach since he was even a defensive coordinator under Saban and stuff. So he kind of just carried that on. So it wasn't like it was ever a new thing.
Yeah.
Where it would be a new thing to see Beamer out there, just blessing one of the coaches out. But I also think that here's a question I want to know is Clayton White in the booth or is he on the ground?
He's on the sideline.
Okay, let's put him in the booth then.
He started in the booth.
Okay.
So like first
So they
season,
did actually try to do something different and it still ain't
well,
working.
I think they did it from a perspective of like, you're down there.
You can
and,
talk
like,
to the
talk
players.
to the players.
Right, yeah.
But then they've
And
got
that's what I
position
like.
coaches up top.
Yeah, I like the coordinators being on the ground.
Yeah.
Because they can have conversations,
Yeah.
in between plays, in between series. But yeah, if he started in the booth, went to the ground, it still ain't working. They tried something. I gotta, hats off. You did try something different.
They did that. I think they did that last year. But
so last year, I'm talking about this season.
No, I think
he's been on the
the
ground.
sideline.
I put him
all
back in the
season.
booth.
He's been on the sideline all
Put him
season.
back in the booth then.
But I'll say this too, because you brought up last week about you working for your dad and being a salesman. So what if y'all were doing something? You're like on a sales call or something in the office, and you blew a sale or something. There's your coworkers in the office. There's
we've had full blown arguments in the office before.
But what would your thought be if your dad just laid into you and like cussed you up and down?
I mean,
I know what I'd do.
You'd probably give it right back to him.
I'd just walk out.
Well, I mean,
it's
a different thing, and yeah, but as far as that kind of thing, like it's kind of known. Like, all right, on sidelines, players are going to get chewed out. You don't see coaches getting chewed out as much, but again, like you said, Saban has the pedigree to do that.
Yeah.
But man, if he's been on the ground all season, get him in the booth. Let's try something. They acted like the defense was better last year whenever he was in the booth.
Send him down to the Bojangles and just hang out there.
No, but for real, put him in the booth. Let's see how that. Maybe the players just don't respond to him well on the sidelines. Maybe maybe they're the type of players that if they have a bad series, hey, we just want to just think about it ourselves.
Yeah.
Don't come over here. Maybe they're same thing. If Beamer doesn't want to chew out the coaches and stuff like that, maybe the players don't respond well to that. So maybe they just want to go to their position coach during,
I've always been curious what coaches say on like the headsets
to each other.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all drinking after this because this has been terrible.
Yeah.
That's what I would have been saying.
I'd go sit at Bojangles. That place is efficient right there. But I had a couple other games on here. The good thing about the fascinating thing about the Oklahoma State-Oklahoma game, it's the last time they're going to play.
Yeah.
In the regular season, at least. And Oklahoma State kind of got petty with them. Like they were playing like a couple. Like,
will they not take them as one of their non-conference?
I don't think so.
Nobody cares about that game anymore. Anyway, but outside of the state of Oklahoma, it's not like,
You can say that about our game against Clemson.
This year especially.
Any year. I mean, it just...
In the South, though, but I'm saying like nationwide, people know about like the Red River rivalry.
Bedlam's a big rivalry.
I didn't watch it.
Well, that's
but then
not
again, I
saying
didn't
a whole
watch.
lot, though.
After the South Carolina game, I didn't watch
I usually have to.
football.
Usually, I'll text you like, "Hey, we're going to talk about these games tomorrow."
Yeah.
Do a little bit of studying. But the Iowa Northwestern game, oh god,
Iowa's hit the under in what 3 straight games.
I don't know how you could go to a game and enjoy that.
Punt, turnover, turnover on downs.
I mean,
punt,
10-7.
punt,
I
field
get
goal.
it if it's like a 10-7 game and it's like
two just badass defenses.
That's how Alabama LSU games used to be.
Yeah.
But it's because the defenses were so good, where this is just the offenses are just so incompetent.
Right.
The defenses don't need to do anything.
Top 6, I think Alabama's going to get in the top 6.
No.
Yeah.
No team lost.
Don't matter.
Whose spot would they take?
Who's number 6? Put
Oregon.
it back up, Zeb.
It's Oregon.
Yeah, get them out of there.
What?
I mean, Alabama's number 8. They made a case to be. And I'm not sure, what did Florida State do this week?
Right.
I mean,
They
who did
won.
Florida State play? I think Alabama had the most, outside of Georgia. I think Alabama had the most convincing win.
Florida State beat Pitt 24-7.
Not bad.
But here's the thing: it's not gonna. If anything changes,
They're going to jump.
It'll be
Texas.
Georgia and Ohio State flip. No, they won't.
Yeah, they're going to jump Texas.
Texas beat Kansas State in overtime, but it was still a ranked win. I mean, you're right. They very well could jump them, but honestly, that would be 1 and 2 could flip, and then 8 and 7 could flip.
Here's the thing. The committee has to start doing what they do every year, and they have to start making the case slowly, week by week, to get Alabama in there. So they got to move them up at some point here so that when they do play Georgia, if they beat Georgia, that solidifies them into the top 4. They can't go from 8 to 4, I don't think. So,
but if the teams in front of
very
them don't lose, you can't.
Right, but the committee does it every year. They make a case for the money. They make the case because they know that Alabama's that moneymaker where nobody cares about Washington. They just truly don't. Outside of the state of Washington.
What I'm saying, though, is there's 6 other teams in front of Alabama that are just as much moneymakers as Alabama.
Not Washington. Not Oregon.
What?
Not nationwide. Like, nobody's staying up to watch Oregon. Not like Alabama, dude. Alabama, if you said who is more nationally recognized year in and year out, Alabama or Oregon, it's Alabama every day. But the thing is they, and I'm not saying that they're better than these or even money, but the committee, you know it. They do it every year. They try and make a case.
They didn't do it last year.
They keep Alabama right there on that bubble, right there on the fringe, so that they make a run.
This year.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they deserve, I think that they deserve to be, they could beat any of those teams. This year would have been the perfect year to have the expanded playoffs because there's no true, like, you can make a case for almost all of these teams to be in the top 4.
No.
The top 8, you can make a case for them to be in the top 4.
No.
Because Georgia and Alabama, that's going to settle itself.
Maybe.
Washington, I don't know, man. They're not. Michigan's going to have so many sanctions and suspensions by the end of the year. Who's going to know if they even have a head coach?
I saw a message board, and there's probably, and I think that's what you're
Florida
about
State,
to say.
hey, it's not going to be any cakewalk for them to have to play North Carolina in the ACC championship game.
Investigations linking Michigan to Ohio State.
Ohio State might be out of it.
No.
Who will they? So Michigan and Ohio State, have they played each other yet?
No, they played last game of the year.
So that'll settle itself out too. They're going to make Alabama get in there.
No.
You want to make a wager right now that Alabama gets into the top 4 if they win the SEC?
Are you saying Alabama will make the college football playoff?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll bet it.
If they win out and they win the SEC.
They have to make the college football playoff, right?
If they win the SEC, they're getting in.
Not just getting to.
But you're saying, like, if all of these teams continue to win,
yes,
Alabama's out.
Yes.
No, well, yeah, because Georgia would beat Alabama.
But then you look at resume.
Alabama, $20 Alabama gets into the playoffs.
No, we're not going to do money. We're going to do something else.
Okay.
We'll
discuss the wager, but there will be a wager that Alabama makes the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah.
Alabama's getting into the top 4.
They have to make, not just getting to the top 4. They have to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
okay.
they have to get into the playoffs.
Okay.
When it comes time to say the last ranking, Alabama has to be 1 through 4.
Okay.
And they'll be in there.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, let's make our picks on South Carolina and Clemson games this week.
You still owe me for the World Series bet.
Bull butter. Kyle owes me $1,000. He bet me $1,000 in 2021 back in it was like August of 2021.
I think it was before the All-Star break.
Yeah, and I was like, "What? The Braves are going to win the World Series this year." And he was like, "All right, if the Braves win the World Series, I'll give you $1,000." They won the World Series, and I'm still $1,000 poor.
So am I.
All right, Clemson is going to take on Georgia Tech at 12 o'clock. Not on the CW this week, so you don't have to catch the credits of the Flash before they play.
Clemson won, so they got promoted.
They're back in there. I wouldn't be surprised if they put Clemson in the top 25.
No.
If they win this week, they'll put Clemson in the top 25.
That's a joke if they do.
If Clemson wins this week and Clemson wins against North Carolina, they'll come into South Carolina ranked because they treat Clemson like they treat Alabama.
I know if Clemson was a good football team, and let's just say Carolina was not what they are right now, like we were, say roles were reversed, like we were a 5-4 team, Clemson was a top, and we beat Vanderbilt and Kentucky, 100% they would put us as a ranked opponent. Because they've done that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. This just makes my case for the Alabama. Like the committee doesn't actually they just say, all right, what makes the best story? And Alabama not getting in last year and then slowly crawling their way back this year. They're going to beat Georgia and they're going to put them smack dab at number 1.
No.
No, not number 1, but they'll put them in to the playoffs. Yeah. But anyway, Clemson, they're taking on a terrible Georgia Tech team. Georgia Tech's coming off a big win against Virginia, 45-17. They've already beat Miami. They've already beat North Carolina this year. So, they've beaten good teams. They can throw the ball now a little bit. Yeah. They're not that, triple option, run it 95 times a game team anymore. It's going to be one of those games where Clemson's defense is going to have to just keep them in there and hope the offense. Yeah. I don't see Clemson blowing them out. But then again, they could ride it back, man. Buy that stock because Clemson is they're the hot one, man.
I wish they'd quit putting our games at the same time because I'm not going to watch it. Yeah. I'm going to watch our game. Well,
I put it on the iPad.
I won't be able to watch any of the games because I'm going to be in a wedding in Virginia at 1 o'clock.
Well, so I won't that's be able a whole other discussion about weddings in football season.
Listen, they're not from the South. Evan, if you're watching this, yeah.
Bad decision, Evan.
Yeah. No.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yep. I've got Clemson winning.
I got Clemson winning, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be another one. I don't think that Will Shipley will be back this week. I think after seeing what Mafah can do, if I was Clemson, I would hold him out until he's 100%. Like there's no, and he may be 100% this week. But I just think if you don't have to play him with what Mafah did. It looked like the same offense to me. Yeah. Without him. So, but I think Clemson wins, but I think again it's going to be defense keeping them in the game, having to make a turnover. Is this it's at Clemson?
Yep. They're home the rest of the year except
South Carolina. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take what's the line? We don't know the line on this one.
No.
It's going to be a close game, 10 points or less, but a victory for Clemson.
Let's see if there's we're recording the day after.
Usually they have them up pretty quick. But I don't see them blowing them out. I think that
I don't think any lines are
no lines, yeah. So 10 points or less, but Clemson gets the victory.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Dabo's going to say, "I told y'all to buy that stock. Go buy it now."
I hope
they hit a stone cold.
I hope Tyler from Spartanburg calls in this week.
Yeah, but how about Tyler from Greenville? That kid did have a good game today for not practicing all week.
Yeah. Had a big touchdown catch.
But I can't wait to hear, his... That's what... Dabo would have been perfect for the WWE. He just comes out here with these quotes and just...
Tweet that.
Tweet that. You heard that. Stone Cold said so. That's what he should say. Dabo said so. I got 2 degrees and a wife, and I raised 3 good boys.
Don't tempt him. He might do it.
Clemson wins this week.
We have Clemson fans coming at us this week. Got new controversy.
Yeah. South Carolina is going to take on Vanderbilt, another 12 o'clock game at home for South Carolina.
SEC Network.
Vanderbilt's 2-8 on the year. They're in the same boat that South Carolina is. Coming off a loss. They've lost 8 straight games. So, and their wins that they had weren't like...
They're against podunk teams.
Yeah. They had a
Jacksonville State's not a podunk team.
Jacksonville State's a good team, but we still should have blown them out.
Yes, but still.
I think that we take that little itty bit of joy that did come out of that game, ride that late game momentum that you had, especially defensively. You were able to, force some turnovers. You got to be able to do that. That's just the defense that they are. Is like it's got to be a bend don't break defense. It's got to be that you're going to give up yards, but hey, let's force turnovers. Let's hold them to field goals. Let's hold them to punts. They're just not a defense that's going to consistently get 3 and outs. Put Clayton White in the booth, get him away from the players. Maybe he's just got some bad mojo or something. So let's just get him away and see how that works. But I think South Carolina wins.
Sounds like you're going to pick Vanderbilt to win.
Nah, almost. I mean, I had Vanderbilt winning in the third quarter, watching us in the third quarter Saturday.
Yeah, Carolina wins.
Yeah.
My thing is that I want to see from our offense is just keep
consistency.
Yeah, well, like if the passing game is working, like yesterday, they couldn't guard Xavier Leggett. Like, but we just not stop going to them. And I know you have to be balanced, but
you got to run a little bit because you don't want to throw a ton of times because eventually that leads to interceptions.
We have to be able to get the ground game established.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we win either way, but we have to be able to get our run game going.
They have to. I don't know if it's always been a thing for South Carolina. They just play to their opponent. If the opponent's not very good, they just play down to their opponent. Just like we very well could have beat Georgia. We played Georgia extremely well. We should have beat Florida. I mean, they played to their opponent. Besides Tennessee, that was not a great, game all around. But South Carolina has played well against obviously better
just have
teams
to do it consistently.
Exactly. So I think this is a game they got to build off the little momentum that they came out of Jacksonville State with. Please win this game, and then just keep yourself alive. So I think South Carolina wins this game.
I'm going to depend on you next week when we record because, like I said, I'm not going to be able to watch any of the games next week.
Thanks, Evan.
I know, jerk. No, that's going to be a
congratulations
fun time.
To Evan and his wife. I don't know him, but
it's a good guy, good dude.
Congratulations. That marriage is more important than football. Ask Dabo, dude. He's been married for over 30 years.
Yep, and he's got 2 degrees.
2 degrees, 3 great kids.
You're
slamming water bottles. All right, that'll wrap it up. I'm taking Clemson to win by 10. South Carolina will win by 10 or less.
2 touchdowns.
We'll see you next week.
See y'all.